Okay, let's start with a question to Mr. Krüger. Our topic sounds quite big and general. Could you please give us an overview which sector we have in mind now?
Well, that's actually a good question because when we're talking about HORIBA FuelCon, we also have to talk about HORIBA as a group company. And as you may know, HORIBA is existing of 5 business segments. So therefore, we are not talking only about FuelCon, which is related to automotive testing system, but also about all the other segments. So for example, we are talking about process and environment, we are talking about scientific, health or medicine, semiconductor, and therefore every business segment takes care about our vision to make the world cleaner, more efficient. And when we are coming to HORIBA FuelCon, especially we are talking about automotive industries, where we try to realize this vision not only by doing the shift from the combustion to e-mobility, where we are providing fuel cell and battery test equipment, but also to reduce, for example, like emissions from the combustion side.
Okay, so basically HORIBA has the big overview, and with HORIBA FuelCon, the OEMs you have in mind. All right, so this year it's the first time for you in this connection that a merged company, HORIBA FuelCon, is here on the fair. Now, which experience comes with HORIBA? And which experience comes with FuelCon? Could you please start, Mr. Ikeda?
Yes. It's on?
Yeah. Just
So, as Carsten told you, we have 5 different business segments in the HORIBA. And so we have a wide variety of devices and controlling unit and providing in the world. And then, so we can utilize some, our, existing product. For example, the semiconductor. We are providing a mass flow controller. It can be used for the flow control for the FC test unit. And also another example is a process and environment segment. We are providing to the hydrogen gases monitors, which is a very, low detection limited. And so we can use these products for the FC station in near future. So I believe we can create good synergy between the HORIBA and the HORIBA FuelCon.
Yeah, and when we're talking about what comes from FuelCon, it's, as I mentioned, we are offering test equipment for fuel cells and batteries, and therefore we are covering a wide range of new electrical energies or sustainable energy, and so we can now even have a bigger portfolio at the HORIBA group, and we also have the opportunity to learn a lot from all the other segments, as they are also really much into analyzer stuff, and they can help us to understand processes or even relations that we are covering before with the test equipment, but that we have now in a really deeper way of scientific meaning, and therefore we have the advantage that the range of our knowledge is right now really big, and it's even growing. And this is something that is quite good for HORIBA as a group company, and then also for our customers, because we merge from both sides the best things together and now have a really wide portfolio.
Okay, but now let's get into the details a little bit more. The e-mobility sector. Could you both give us some example for test stations or measurements that have to be done in this e-mobility sector?
There are actually 2 kinds of solutions that we offer. As I mentioned, we are focusing on fuel cells and batteries, and when we are talking about e-mobility, we are also talking about battery electric vehicles, or even vehicles that have a powertrain with a fuel cell, and therefore we can of course offer test equipment for both. And the difference between both is also related to the testing. So for example, when we're talking about fuel cells, we have gases, so we can test like pressures or humidity on different conditions. And from the battery side, we have electric power that drives an e-motor. And there we can, for example, just test like duration or like environmental conditions. So for example, we can combine our test equipment with climate chambers or with shakers or whatever. So we can have like driving cycles realized in the test equipment with a test station, and therefore simulate at least real-time conditions with a test station. And this, of course, helps to develop sustainable solutions for e-mobility, for fuel cell and battery as well.
And Mr. Ikeda, in which production phase these test stations are used now? Is it for the prototyping phase or for the production line phase or for both maybe?
Yeah, for the FC, still some kind of a beginning of our development, the product itself. And so some customers still using it for the single cell monitors. And then, but situation is getting a difference. Most of the customer now is going to major test for the short stack or full stack. Yeah. And then some customers are going to the production side to test it. Yeah. So market quickly to change now.
Okay. Okay, let's have a look at which kind of challenges, for example, for fuel cells, do you detect by your test systems? Like, do you have something like aging test series, Mr. Krüger?
Maybe first I have to mention that testing is always up to the customer side. So, of course, we are providing the test equipment, but the testing itself is up to the customer side, and therefore, all the information from testing belongs mostly to the customer. Of course, we recognize different demands and questions to realize test equipment. So, for example, when we are talking about fuel cells, we see that we are now shifting from the cell level more to stack level or even complex fuel cell systems. And we see also that the power for systems and stacks is growing. And so I think we are now at a phase where we have also, we are really close to the side where we have a really final production for fuel cells in a serial way. And as you ask, for example, for stress tests, of course, we offer possibilities to have an accelerated stress test, which helps customers a lot to get some information in their R&D side. And if I may come also to the battery side, there we have the shift from the R&D more to the production side. So here we see that customers have the challenge to now cover really production issues, and they are coming more from the R&D, where they have a lot of single testing with single devices. They now have really high numbers of an outcome of for example, batteries, and now they have to cover these demands, and we are there to help them with these challenges here.
Okay, so will it be possible to test how all the pieces work together in one test chamber, for example? How does it look like? How can I imagine that?
Yeah, at least, as I said, it's always relating a little bit to the demands the customer have. So, of course, it's quite easy to have just like a testing in a test cabinet where we just change conditions. But when we have the challenge that we need to realize really intensive driving cycles, then of course we have to put some components together. As I mentioned, for example, a climate chamber where we can test conditions from minus 40 degrees up to 85 degrees. Then we of course can combine it with a shaker or with a tilt unit that we also have on our booth, for example. And there we can realize real driving cycles, and this is really more complex and of course much more challenging for the customer, but also for us. But at least it's possible, and we can put it together, for example, in a climate chamber or in a big test cabinet.
Can you give us maybe an example where your customer was able, with your help, to adjust his product?
I think we have a lot of customers that are working with our products and are finally fine with our products because we support them not only in the R&D side. For example, we built a test station for a customer that is located also here in Lower Saxony. It's an independent independent customer that does a lot of R&D, and they had the request to have really high dynamic changes during the testing. So it was also the first time for us to have really this high demands of technical issues, but in the end we provided a test station that is absolutely able to have high dynamic testing, and at least helps the customer to develop sustainable fuel cells. And I think this is one of the good examples I can give you.
Okay, and they now find answers with the flexible conditions and how their systems react on these conditions with your test system. Okay, great. One last question to you, Mr. Krüger, before we continue with Mr. Ikeda. Now our topic is how about the vision, how we can make the world more efficient. How do you think you can contribute to that with your products?
Yeah, as I said, we are focusing on a shift from established energy sources to renewable energy sources, and therefore, we try to help to reduce emissions or even pollution. So, for example, when we are keeping the topic on the automotive sector, we are helping customers to do the transition from combustion to e-mobility. Therefore, of course, customers now have the possibility to develop powertrains driven by fuel cells or batteries. And here we try to help the customer to follow also some regulations from the government. And this is not only related to automotive industries. For example, we are doing the same for independent energy sources, and this is, I think, one of our attempts to realize a vision from a HORIBA FuelCon side. But as I mentioned, we are also trying to do it with all the other 5 or 4 business segments, where we try to improve things that at least try to lower emission.
So do you think it will be possible to get products into the market faster, maybe with your testing sites? This is what maybe one of the question.
I don't know if we can really accelerate some R&D, because sometimes it takes time to have a final R&D and at least a product that is really finished or ready for the market. But at least we try to help customers to achieve their goal with at least an optimum of test equipment. And this is our attempt, as I mentioned. And I think in the end, if we are able to help the customer and to accelerate their R&D phase, then our job is done.
Great. Okay. Thanks for that. Mr. Ikeda, which advantages do customers now have from the merger of both companies, FuelCon and HORIBA?
Yes, HORIBA is located in Kyoto, and in Japanese company. And now, our employee total is 8,000, more than 8,000, and also there are 49 group companies in the world. So I believe this is a global company now, and also we have a very strong relationship with the automobile industries companies, not only the car maker but also some tier 1 parts makers as well. And I think it is good potential for the FuelCon to grow to utilize our HORIBA global network, which is one is for sales network, and then the other one is also the service network. So in the past, if we have a trouble in the Asia, sometimes we have takes time because of geometrically difference and also time difference. But now we can utilize the local engineer and then local support, so we can reply to the customer quickly to whenever they have a trouble or whenever they have some question, we can reply to as soon as possible. Yeah, this is one of the advantage for whole group. Yeah.
Okay, so with the global network, you are just more flexible to the customer's demand, right?
Yeah. So that's why I came from Japan to here to make it.
Yeah, really nice. And with the growing market, what do you think, where are your markets of the future, especially for the HORIBA FuelCon test stations? What do you think, Mr. Ikeda?
Me. How about you?
Or you're both, of course. Where are your markets of the future?
Maybe I can start with a FuelCon perspective, because we are located in Germany, and therefore, of course, we have a lot of customers here in Germany and Europe as well. And this is actually a good chance for us to have insights into customers' R&D and in some status. And I think that we have a really good situation in Germany, but also abroad. And this is at least a challenge for us, because even the Asian market is quite accelerating the activities. Japan, for example, is really pushing hard on bringing the fuel cell to the market and have at least a lot of cars on the market. Also, the Chinese market is growing, and I think there's no clear answer to see if it's more related to Germany, Europe, or maybe other parts of the world. What we can say from our perspective as a global company, there's a lot of movement in the market, and there's of course a lot of increasing demands on the market, and we're trying to fulfill and react to all the requests we got from all over the world. But in the end, I think, and I hope at least, that we have not only some major activities in Asia, but also in Europe and of course in the US.
Yeah, and you mentioned the growing market, and I think you will be definitely part of this growing market. Okay, yeah, time is running fast. 20 minutes is up already. So thank you in the audience for joining us here, for listening us. And thank you too from HORIBA FuelCon for answering these questions. Yeah, thanks a lot. And everyone who is interested will find you the booth just here behind the public forum for just further questions, and can have a look in your test stands. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.